Sagittarius, let me speak to you as someone who has spent years studying not only the zodiac but also the psychology of human behavior and the eternal cycles of cause and effect. What we are dealing with here is not a simple horoscope reading but a reflection of how power, karma, and perception weave together in your life. Somewhere in your circle, someone thought they could outwit you, splitting their attention, deceiving, juggling loyalties as if you wouldn't notice. Perhaps it was in love, perhaps in friendship, perhaps in business. They mistook your laughter, your love of freedom, and your unshakable optimism for naivete. What they missed is that Sagittarius intuition isn't a hunch, it's an arrow, direct and sharp, honed by centuries of ancestral wisdom. Psychologists might call it pattern recognition, astrologers might call it the fire of prophecy, and the Buddhists would say it is awareness born from stillness. You may crack jokes, you may dance through the chaos of life, but make no mistake, you see through masks faster than most people can put them on. The irony is delicious. While they scramble to cover their tracks, you simply stand still, and the truth reveals itself. Imagine them shaking in their boots, worried not only about your reaction but about the people who respect and protect you. This is the cosmic punchline: they feared the wrong person all along. They thought the archer was distracted, but you've always had the high ground. And if you chuckle while karma does its job, who could blame you? After all, laughter is your birthright, and wisdom is your weapon. Karma has a peculiar way of showing up when people least expect it, and as someone who has spent a lifetime studying astrology, human psychology, and even dipping into the philosophies of Eastern wisdom, I can assure you karma is both teacher and comedian. It does not negotiate, it does not politely delay its arrival, and it certainly does not send a warning email with subject line, "Heads up, consequences inbound." No, karma shows up with receipts, with evidence, with a flair for timing that would impress any novelist. When deception is revealed, what follows is predictable: anger from the exposed, guilt in the quiet hours, and insecurity that gnaws at them long after the lights go out. The transcript called it a foolish lesson. I would go further and call it a foundational one. Because life, Sagittarius, doesn't allow people to build castles on lies without eventually demanding rent. Here's the fascinating part: you don't even have to do anything. This is the sweetest irony of being Sagittarius in this year of triumph 2025. By simply standing in your truth, you radiate a kind of spiritual protection that unnerves those who traffic in deception. Think about it, some of you have allies in very high places, friends, or mentors who carry weight in society. Others among you walk the earth as what I like to call chosen ones, people who embody resilience so authentically that they terrify anyone who survives only through manipulation. You, Sagittarius, summon both visible and invisible protection. And that alone makes liars tremble. From my years observing both the stars and human behavior, I can tell you this: a liar is rarely afraid of the person they directly lied to. Their real fear is the network around that person, the ripple effect when exposure spreads. That is what has your enemies awake at night, staring at the ceiling, realizing they didn't just cross you, they crossed your entire soul tribe. And your tribe, whether in flesh and blood or in spirit and ancestry, will not let you be taken advantage of anymore. Now let's talk about the spotlight, because if there is one sign that accidentally stumbles into it, it's Sagittarius. You don't necessarily audition for center stage, but you walk into a room and suddenly people are paying attention. Maybe it's your charisma, maybe it's that laugh that carries like music, or maybe it's simply the unshakable optimism that people find magnetic. Even in smaller communities, at work, or online, Sagittarius often becomes the one who lights up the room. But here's the catch: light doesn't just attract admirers. It also attracts moths. And moths don't love you, they love the glow. The karmic individuals circling you right now? They are more afraid of reconciliation than of confrontation. Imagine them pacing the floorboards in the dark, muttering, "What if the truth comes out? What if the person we tried to block from Sagittarius's life apologizes? What if all of this comes crashing down?" Because they know, deep down, that truth is a wrecking ball. If the truth escapes, their fragile tower of half-truths and gossip collapses in one swing. And believe me, it terrifies them. But here is where Sagittarius teaches us all a lesson in cosmic comedy. Instead of plotting revenge, you are sipping your coffee, scrolling through memes, laughing with your friends, living your best life. You don't even have to chase revenge. The fear they carry is punishment enough. In fact, their paranoia is like a bad sitcom. Picture them as cartoon villains, nervously biting their nails, whispering to themselves, "What if Sagittarius knows? What if their friends know? What if their ancestors know?" And meanwhile, you're stretching, yawning, maybe posting a joke online that gets 1,000 likes, not even thinking about them. That is the greatest twist. They built a prison in their mind, and you didn't even have to put them there. Sagittarius, this is why karma is not just about punishment, it's about balance. It's about revealing who people really are. And as any philosopher or Buddhist monk will remind us, truth always rises like oil above water. You are protected not only because of who you are, but because of what you represent. You remind people that deception has an expiration date, and that laughter is the strongest shield against bitterness. So keep laughing, keep shining, keep being the archer who sees far beyond the horizon. Because while others scramble in fear, you already have the high ground. There's a reason that old saying "keep your friends close and your enemies closer" never quite sat right with me. It sounds clever on paper, but in real life it usually plays out like a bad sitcom rerun. Some people actually believe they can worm their way back into your good graces with a fake smile and a few casual conversations, as if the gossip, the interference, the subtle sabotage never happened. Sagittarius, you know better. You've lived enough, read enough, and frankly laughed enough at human folly to see through those masks faster than they can glue them on. You are ruled by Jupiter, the great teacher of wisdom and expansion, which means your intuition isn't some vague hunch, it's a fully stocked library of human behavior. You can smell manipulation like smoke before the fire even starts. What these so-called frenemies don't realize is that pretending to be your ally doesn't erase their karmic debts. The Buddha would remind us that clinging to greed, anger, or deception is like grasping a hot coal. You're the one who gets burned first. These people are trapped, not by your judgment, but by their own ignorance. And here's the delicious irony: while they twist themselves into knots trying to calculate their next move, you're busy walking free, laughing at a good joke, or planning your next adventure. Their prison is invisible but very real, yours is the open horizon. So let them smile, let them hover, let them try. You're not bitter, you're not fooled, and you're certainly not trapped. You've got the wisdom to forgive, the humor to move on, and the clarity to keep shooting your arrows toward brighter skies while they remain lost in their labyrinth of lies. When we ask the question, why are they so afraid of Sagittarius, the answer is far more layered than simple envy. As someone who has studied astrology, psychology, and the human condition for decades, I can tell you fear rarely exists in a vacuum. Fear is usually the byproduct of exposure, the sudden recognition that a person or situation reveals something uncomfortable, something undeniable. Sagittarius, you embody this exposure. You don't have to shout, you don't have to fight, your very presence functions as a mirror that forces others to confront themselves, and not everyone likes what they see. First, let's take this systematically. You have allies, and that alone is enough to rattle those who hope to isolate you. The lone wolf image doesn't apply here. Your pack is strong. Whether it's family, friends, colleagues, or even your digital tribe, your protection multiplies in numbers. And here's the twist: your enemies can't always pinpoint who will rise to defend you, which makes them anxious. It's like walking into a crowded room and realizing anyone there could be your bodyguard. They don't know which friendly smile hides loyalty to you, and that uncertainty keeps them restless at night. Second, and perhaps more unsettling for them, is your unseen protection. Across cultures, whether in Buddhism, Christianity, or indigenous traditions, there is a shared belief that those walking in truth are never alone. Call them angels, ancestors, guides, or spirit teams, the names differ, but the principle is the same. Sagittarians are rarely without backup, even if that backup exists in realms that can't be measured with a microscope. Imagine your detractors trying to plot against you, all while suspecting that unseen hands are guarding your path. It's enough to make anyone paranoid. Third, your influence. You may not consider yourself a public figure, but influence doesn't require a stage or a spotlight. Influence is simply the ability to shape perception, to carry respect. And that is terrifying to those who thrive in shadows. In today's society, reputation is currency. Once you are trusted, admired, or respected, every attempt to drag your name through the mud only ends up splattering the attacker. The karmic boomerang is very real. The harder they swing, the more damage they do to themselves. Fourth, you know people. Maybe some are powerful in the worldly sense, leaders, influencers, or community voices. Maybe others are simply good-hearted, wise, and unwilling to tolerate cruelty. Either way, this network of support makes you untouchable in ways they can't calculate. They don't fear just you, they fear the ripple effect of crossing you. In sociology, we call this social capital, and you, Sagittarius, hold plenty of it. And finally, you embody truth. Truth doesn't always arrive like a lightning bolt. Sometimes it seeps quietly into a room, rearranging the air, until suddenly everyone can see what's been hidden. That's you, magnetic, terrifying, unstoppable. Truth doesn't fight, it just exists. And for those who survive on illusions, truth feels like a wrecking ball. From a psychological standpoint, their fear is not about your fists, your weapons, or your ability to retaliate. Their fear stems from perception. You carry a reputation that bankrupts liars. When people admire you, when they trust you, when they see your integrity, any smear campaign collapses under its own weight. This is why your enemies resort to projection. They mocked you because your confidence highlighted their insecurity. They sent the evil eye because your joy reminded them of their emptiness. They tried to defame your name because your light exposed their shadows. In clinical terms, this is what we call reactive projection, assigning to you the very flaws they cannot face within themselves. And here's where the humor comes in, Sagittarius. Picture them as amateur magicians pulling cheap tricks in front of an audience, only to realize the crowd is already applauding you. They wave their hands dramatically, but the rabbit never appears. Meanwhile, you're over there sipping your coffee, telling a joke, and radiating authenticity. That's the true source of their fear. No matter what games they play, your truth remains unshaken, and their illusions collapse under the weight of it. And as any wise storyteller or Buddhist teacher will remind us, the light doesn't need to fight the dark. It only needs to shine. Sometimes the universe has such a sharp sense of humor that you can't help but laugh, even in the middle of chaos. The karmic thought they were the villain in your story, Sagittarius. They pictured themselves as the dark figure standing opposite you on life's grand stage. But here's the cosmic joke, they aren't even a recurring character. At best, they are a footnote, a minor plot twist, a lesson to be remembered but not carried. You, Sagittarius, are the protagonist. You are the one whose journey the universe actually cares about, the one moving forward, climbing higher, uncovering deeper truths, and stepping into grander stages. And when I say higher ground, I mean both literal and metaphorical. Some of you are climbing actual mountains, conquering goals that others never dared attempt, while others are rising through spiritual victories, inner growth, and new opportunities. This is your year of triumph 2025, and the ascension is undeniable. While they burn their energy spying, worrying, and plotting, you are busy soaring. And nothing, I repeat nothing, terrifies small-minded people more than watching someone rise while they sink in the quicksand of their own schemes. Now let's be clear, you are protected. Spiritually, socially, karmically you have invisible armor around you. That doesn't mean betrayal won't sting. It does, and it will. But here is the truth, betrayal cannot define you. You are too expansive, too wise, too connected to be reduced to the lies of others. Think of the archer's arrow, your sacred symbol. Once it is released, it doesn't stop halfway to ask permission. It doesn't get tangled in the weeds of doubt. It flies forward, cutting through air and distance, headed toward destiny. That's you, Sagittarius. Once you let go of dead weight, you don't just walk away, you soar into futures others can only dream about. And here comes the punchline, the sweetest part of the cosmic comedy: those who mocked you will one day quote you. Those who whispered behind your back will one day reference your wisdom as if they always believed in you. Those who feared your truth will eventually learn from it. Because there is nothing more intimidating than a Sagittarius who has embraced both wisdom and humor. You can forgive without erasing memory. You can laugh without being naive. You can love again without being fooled twice. That combination makes you untouchable, because you are no longer defined by the wounds of the past, you are defined by the light you carry forward. So as we close this message, I want you to pause and recognize just how much respect you command in this world. Whether you see it clearly or not, you are admired, defended, and cherished. This is not just about enemies trembling in fear, it's about you understanding your own worth. Whole networks of karmic energy lose sleep at night because of your very existence. And if that isn't power, then truly, what is? Sagittarius, keep walking with confidence. Keep laughing loudly and often. Keep aiming your arrows toward horizons that others can't even imagine. Because you are not only standing on high ground, you are the high ground. And the universe has only just begun to show you what it feels like to live as a chosen one in the great story of destiny. This is your year of triumph 2025, and the adventure has only just begun. Now, my dear Sagittarius, if this message has resonated with you, take it as a reminder to celebrate who you are and the journey ahead. Enjoy your victories, embrace your freedom, and let humor remain your greatest weapon. And if you want to continue walking this path of wisdom, guidance, and cosmic insight with me, don't forget to like this video, share it with others who may need the reminder, and subscribe to our channel, Zodiac Talks Tarot. Your story is still unfolding, and I promise you won't want to miss the chapters to come.